Did you know that you can only talk on your out-breath? Talk on your out-breath. What that means is that because we can only talk on our out-breath, the rate that a person talks and the number of words that they string together in a sentence tells you which sense they are using in communication. Let me write this down. Rip this off. So we use our senses. Our senses are like our channels for communication. We take in information from the world around us through our eyes. We see things, we hear things, we feel things, we smell, and we taste. So any information that we see, any information that is available to us is perceived through 5 channels of communication. Now what happens as human beings is that we have the ability to use all of the channels. And we have the ability to use all. However, what happens also is that we have preferred ways of communication. And when we have those preferred ways, it comes out in our body language. And it comes out in our words. So each of these senses has their own body language. Each of these senses have their own words. So what that means is that when you're talking to somebody, you can pick up what channel they're using to communicate simply by the types of words that they're using and their body language. I'm going to demonstrate some of this to you. Have I got time to do that?
Yes, you have.
Cool, excellent. Let me go through the traits of each one of these senses. And you might recognise yourself as somebody that you work with, or somebody that you live with, as having a dominant channel of communication. So because you can only talk on your out-breath, what happens is that the visual person is breathing very high off the chest. If you breathe high off the chest, you have a very short out-breath. And what happens is that the words come out like rapid fire. They come out really, really, really quick. You know that traffic out there is really flowing really quickly right now. Because they're trying to get as many words as they can out in their out-breath. They will use words like, that's a really good perspective. The whole thing is very clear to me now. So the word perspective, clear, the visual type words. Somebody who's more auditory is going to breathe from mid-body. And so because of that, they've got a longer out-breath than the visual preference. And they're going to really value the words that you're saying and also the tone with which you say those words. When they think about you, they're going to think about the tone of voice that you had. Somebody who's more kinesthetic, or more feeling, they're going to be breathing lower down in the body. And because of that, they've got a much, much longer out-breath. And so when they're talking, it's like they have all the time in the world because right now it's a beautiful day and we're just enjoying it. So they've got a lot longer sentences and they talk a lot slower as well. And there may also be some ums and ahs in what they're saying as well. So you can begin to understand these senses with your light. You're not to nod your head. It's a visual thing to do. The visual thing to do is to nod your head. Now let me show you what causes conflict between people when it comes to communication style. If you imagine the person with a visual style talks really, really fast, and somebody who's more auditory talks a lot slower, what happens is the auditory will talk to themselves, they will repeat what they hear before they deliver their answer. And because of that, their processing time is longer than somebody who's visual. So a visual person might say to the auditory, "Hi, how are you today?" And the auditory in their brain goes, "Oh, I'm fine, thank you." But guess what? By that time, this person's already moved on 2 or 3 sentences, and this person doesn't feel understood or heard. So we have miscommunication. Interesting, isn't it? Something as simple as this. Something as simple as this. Now, somewhere else where there can be conflict, also in the workplace or even in personal relationships, imagine if if in the workplace, a person who's more visual will have very tidy workstations, you know, because to them, perspective is important. To them, everything has its place, a place for everything. They'll come into the workplace and they'll straighten up a picture on the wall. It's really important that things look right. Brochures are really important to them, the way the brochures look. That's really important to them. How many people actually, like in sales, that type of thing? Or do presentations to your work colleagues? So if you're cater for the visuals by actually doing mind maps, writing on the whiteboard, use lots of colour. Somebody who's more feeling would like to be comfortable in their surroundings, and sometimes their work area can be quite a mess. In the home situation, it shows up like this. The visual person, everything in its place, and everything in its place, and it's got to look tidy. So as soon as you put a cup down somewhere and you look like you've finished it, you put it away. Right? Now, the kinesthetic preference will say to that person, oh look, you know, home's meant to be lived in. You know, you've got to be really comfortable in your home. And so you can see how these conflicts happen. So when that stuff happens, in our presentation skills course, we teach you how to translate. If you're more visual, we teach you how to translate what your thoughts are into a way that the kinesthetic can understand, and also in a way that other senses can understand as well. So, like everybody uses all these senses, but when there's pressure or there's stress, we revert back to our preferred ways of thinking.
I was just going to say, we have extra.
Yes, very much so. In fact, movie makers are very good at using all their senses. You know how when you're watching a movie, you get totally drawn into the movie? How do they do that? They've got the pictures, they've got the sound effects, and also the feeling, because you kind of feel, it's like you're stepping into the shoes of the actor and you're actually getting a feeling for what they could be feeling, that type of thing. And so, movie producers, authors, they use all these senses to engage their audience. So, are there any other questions on this?